Hello, welcome. Gonna have some ginger ale tonight. It's not diet and it's not zero. Just old-fashioned ginger ale. It's old-fashioned, I believe. Look at that. It's a nice mini. So much. So I did some blogging earlier. I got dressed for it. This live stream. Freshened up a little bit. And I'm gonna have my ginger ale. Cheers. Considering all I ate today. Ginger ale. I drink lots of beverages since I've ate lots. Big dinner. I'm fasting now, so I can only have beverages. So other people would probably presume, I suppose, it should be water. I think not. There's not any nutrients in water, Fairy. I drink water first thing in the morning. I like my water cold, boiled hot when serving up. And then when it's summertime, I'd probably drink more water. But right now, it's morning. When I have the time, I like to have some me time water. Oh, and are any of my exes, men, guys, online right now? My social media? Hello. You probably didn't know much about my personality. Now you do, eh? Probably and or possibly one of the reasons and or excuses I am single now. I like you till the day I die. Doesn't matter to me, really. I'm an unclaimed treasure. It's kind of the topic tonight. Everybody and anybody kept showing and telling online COVID-19 SARS. COVID-19 SARS. This, that, and everything else. And how contagious it is and everything else. And how it's one of the worst things to happen to a couple, be it dating, common law, and marriage. Heaven forbid one partner and or both get COVID-19 SARS. I mean, what happens if they break up? For example, I have exes. What happens if you break up and you both have it? Keep yourself isolated from others forever and ever, or, you know, both living, both dead, what, you know. I mean, I woke up this morning feeling rough. And you know when it started? I was feeling pretty good yesterday, just usual snitis, allergies. Oh, another customer touched a bag, wearing full face covering and everything. And I was like, she gave the bag to us, my mom. I said, no, to the cashier. No. That has to go. We don't know, because she was all covered up, eh? And I wasn't prejudging and or prejudicing or discriminating anybody. I was just like, no. That bag has to go to a side. We'll take the next one, the new one that's not been touched, Very. Sales clerk then touched that woman's bag and then touched the other bag without cleansing, like washing her hands using a sterilizer or anything, and gave the bag, put her hand in it, and then packed it up with the groceries, whatever, shopping. I was like, and she was like, the other customer paid for it. And I'm like, okay. But, and then last night I felt kind of okay. And then my mom, she was kind of this morning she was not feeling at all well, and I had sinuses to believe. And my head was in a bit of a light buzz. It was dizzy, and I just didn't feel right myself. And my mom, and so I looked it up, and I'm like, if we were to go to get self-kit, test myself, and or go somewhere and get tested, would they even honestly tell me, show and tell me that I had COVID-19 SARS or not? You know, I was like, oh, I'm just gonna, Mom, do you really want to go? I don't feel like going to you. She was like, no, earlier she didn't want to go, and so I rechecked to make sure she didn't want to go. So we canceled everything, and I was like, I still have a bit of a sinuses. I was like, I just don't. There is she. So I laid down, tried to rest for a couple hours. And I still feel it, so I'm like, I'm gonna have some ginger ale, do a load of laundry, and get back into a normal routine of washing hands oftener, wash my hands before I go out, wash my hands when I come in, try to get to that, I believe that everything, face, neck, everything that's, you know, and my hairs have not been washed yet. I'm gonna do them. I'm considering coloring my hairs this weekend. I want to tidy up my kitchen a bit more, and I want to dye my hairs a different colors. Let's see what happens. Nowadays, putting lots of trust in other people, products, and everything, um, instead of going to a hair salon. The only times I want to go to a hair salon nowadays is just to get a trim, and a wash and blow dry. Then we got that COVID-19 SARS that anyone has shown and told about. And I don't think it's that big a deal, really, because if everybody's just getting a cough, cold, and flu out of it, it's a virus, right? So it's just a virus. There's lots of those going around. I mean, I did my research earlier, and there's been epidemics, pandemics for decades. Nobody seemed to bat an eye when it went away for a while. It just, something or other just keeps coming back. A new strain. It's influenza. I looked it up. It was more or less just the same kind of influenza. It's just a different strain. It's the flu. Some call it cold. I call it the flu. Influenza. It's just another influenza. And we all know flu doesn't always go away with antibiotics and stuff. So it's probably just another strain of the flu, and we're just trying to get it sorted. And it affects, that is, the elderly. They're the weakest ones. And I looked at it too, and a lot of the symptoms are the same as Alzheimer's. That creeped me out, that the brain gets kind of foggy. I was like, although it's not the same, it's just some of it. I mean, Alzheimer's is not contagious and or infectious. But I was like, I was watching so many live streams and vlogs and videos. I was like, if you go back into history and mental health and religion, science and entertainment, there's a witch out there, and it's not the witch. It's really not the witch. Did you know some witches have familiars and animals around and such? The witches get blamed for everything. Yeah, if you look closely, when there's a witch in the neighborhood, not necessarily the pet for a baby, the familiar, there is an animal or a species of some kind or other been around. And usually there's some kind of influenza, there's something or other that, and when COVID was found, COVID-19 SARS, religion, science, and entertainment. That that solstice, that Christmas. If you research in history, Witches got blamed for anything and everything, and they didn't do it. I mean, if you think about it, and you don't even have to be a witch. Allegedly, if an animal doesn't like you, whether it's domestic, pet, wild, whatever, they don't have to touch you physically. It just you can break out in a rash, hives, itch, allergy. You can you can sneeze, have itchy eyes, and then they have allegedly do all allergy tests to see. You can trace it to what the caused that. Sometimes it's a cat. It could be a hay fever, a plant. It could be a bird, a fowl, a duck, squirrel, chipmunk, a raccoon, sloth. It could be a horse. It could be a cow. It could be a sheep. It could be a lamb. It could be a dog. It could be anybody. You know? Because some people believe that witches were some magical, could do anything, had so many powers that they had to be stopped. Well, then, who's going to stop religion? Seriously. You got mythology versus the Holy Bible. The Bible. I use the Bible more than I use anything that's allegedly Wicca, pagan. I do Christianity, and that's very strong stuff. Some people see me and they're like, oh, and I'm like, they see a look on my face, and if anything happens, that's like cardiopulmonary resuscitation, first aid, they just look at me wondering how the heck I did that based on my education. They like, some even laugh at me when I just like, you know, it's just the weirdest thing. If there's, I just, some other witches did not. They get, some online ones got links and didn't do their research very in history and geography, science, all that stuff in math and English literature. And they showed and told some things, but they didn't actually emphasize their beliefs, their likes, their beliefs. They weren't very religious, you know what I mean? I'm not the most religious, but nowadays, but when it comes to paganism, I like to pick up on it and do some stuff, and I'd like to have done more. I'd like to have did more past Christmas, past winter, past Halloween. I just did not. I don't really do lots, but I like to go out and enjoy nature. That I did do. And I like to show and tell the world around me during video making, photography, vlogging, blogging. I like to do all that kind of thing. It's actually, hopeful to invest in a new camera so I could do photography, digital, and not upload it on social media, and maybe do a calendar. But I always want to do it. There's so many nice things in this neighborhood that I would have really liked to take some photos of some stuff like I mentioned, especially when it snows outside. It's so beautiful. I tried to do some earlier this year and turned out pretty good considering the technology I'm using. I used. And I was like, all that you can do really about COVID-19 SARS is, which the pharmaceutical companies must like and or love nowadays, is self-care, really. Self-care. You got the inoculations, the vaccines, which is also bullshit as far as I'm concerned. Uh, it's like the flu vaccine. Sometimes, you get a vaccine if you didn't have it already. Some of the vaccines are made of that they put it in you in order to give it to you, in order to fight off actually getting it, so that if you get it, you're immune to it. Does that make sense? And that said and done. I mean, if I were living up in the country, I'd probably never have gotten much of anything. I'd probably been a lot healthier. Anyways, pharmaceutical companies must love it, self-care. I mean, other people, whether they're witches or not, they use raw, they use whole foods, they use this, they use that. I don't do that very. I try to eat some things, but I don't like to eat that way. I'm not that way inclined. I don't do fancy meals or anything. I just do, you know, meat and potatoes, although the meat is replaced by something like tofu or veg or fruit or something else. That's not meat. Exercise, athletics, got, I mean, I occasionally, and I don't do, I showed and told earlier during a vlog, video, live stream, vlog, whatever, that I would not use this unless I absolutely had to, considering the circumstances. Do you see what that is? Okay. It's an actual Ouija board. I haven't used one of these in a very long time. I don't know that'll work. But here's the thing. I'm gonna put it down. See if I get a yes or no sometime. I'm just gonna place it there and ignore it. And if it moves, it moves. And I know I'm thinking, please don't move. But if it moves, it moves. Here it is. I'm not lying. That's how I'm gonna put it down. It's an emergency. I could ask a whole lot of questions. I'm just going to ignore it. But back to COVID. I mean, it's self-care. Pharmaceutical companies love it. Sale of vitamins must have gone up. Supplements must have gone up. Cosmetic industry didn't like, because cosmetic industry, the sales must have gone down. Because I'm like one of many. I don't even like to put, and we all like soaps, you know, but we can get COVID-19 SARS from anything, anywhere. And I'm like, I, I just don't feel, and they have testers, you go into a pharmacy or where there's cosmetics, and you get a tester and you might want to put it on your wrist or something. No offense intended, but somebody that has that alleged COVID-19 SARS could have been there before. And ever since, everyone that uses it, there's so many problems. And anyways, they'll probably end up in the soil like all the other ones. So it's going to be in our water system, our soils. It's going to be everywhere. So, I mean, it doesn't matter what precautions we took. Fruits, vegetables, all that plant-based stuff, water. A source that we all need is absolutely mandatory. It wasn't investigated thoroughly before. And tap water, spring water, you never know. So you just gotta build yourself up with net science and entertainment. A little bit of religion, maybe, maybe not. A whole lot of science and entertainment. And a little bit of magic, a couple times a year, Lazy Pagan's coming out again this year. All goes well. And I hope my mom is alive to enjoy it all. My cat too. Come out wherever I am. Most definitely. Usually on February 14th, I've always tried to have a Valentine's Day home with my cat, my fur baby, my pets. This year, this witch is coming out to play. It's not moved. Look at that, it's not moved. It can move if it wants to. I'm gonna ask a question. What question should I ask? I'm gonna make myself a coffee and see if it moves before I come back. What should we ask? Is anybody gonna join me with this question, or do I have to make it up all by myself? On TikTok, Santa Claus promised me I'm gonna be famous. Although not how. Anyways, what should the question be? Oh, let's think. Should we make it personal or something else? Does my cat love me? cards, oracle cards. Previous reading. I haven't done one of these readings in a while. I missed Sunday completely. So I'm like, let's do one now. See what the fairies have to tell me. Show me. Life energy. The happy fairy of sunshine brings lots of life-giving energy. She reminds you to shine your light and to reveal anything in the shadows that needs to be healed. Excuse me. Reading, card reading, okay, technical reading, card reading, okay, technical difficulties. It hasn't moved very. It's sort of leaning towards that side, funny enough. It's just a slightly bit to the S. I don't know. Gotta wait and see if it goes a bit more over. Go on, go on. Put my finger in it. It's something I have one now. I do fear Ouija boards. I always fear the word no. It's the word that bothers me the most. My head is instantaneously wanting to ask more questions. I just want to know if my cat likes me or loves me. Does my cat love me? Yes or no? Yes, no. Yes. It didn't say what. Does my cat love me? As I was saying about COVID-19 SARS. Probably do more research. I don't think it's anything to worry about. I don't think the planet's going to die. Most of everything and anything. And the numbers, the deaths, the death tolls, like many others, considering the year, month, the day, year, month it is now, it's less likely that there's that many deaths as example, Spanish flu, etc. And the ones before that. There's not going to be, there couldn't be. There couldn't be. Technology, science, history, entertainment, news, religion, all that stuff, you know? Some people have showed my family, immediate family, one and more others, that my being religious, Christian mostly, and some pagan, Christian mostly, was symptoms and behaviors of one and more mental illnesses, such as obsessive compulsive disorder and delusional. And instead, those other people were instead. I mean, I, that's not who I am. I don't really go to extravagant anything. I really truly don't. I like to have clean and I like to have tidy for at least a couple days. And then everything just come Christmas Day, it's all unraveled in a mess again. And I prefer bright furniture that's light. Everything bright, nothing dark, not black, not dark brown, nothing dark. I like color. I like light and neutrals, because then the accents, you know. So when Christmas comes along, I like to have Christmas 24/7. I don't care. Some people think that's abnormal. I don't care. Most of my healthcare workers, they don't care. They're like, you know, I like to have a cactus that's allegedly a Christmas cactus. 24/7. I'm not going to throw it away just because it's not Christmas anymore until the next year. I have a misfit tree. I call it that. It's actually a misfit Christmas tree. It's a natural misfit Christmas tree. That's why I call it misfit Christmas. Well, it's just a wonky Christmas tree. I opened up the box. I unwrapped it not very carefully. And I put it together not very carefully. And I put the Christmas lights on it not very carefully. and then I sparkles, and that was it really. I want to get lights where I could just put it on top and just have them cascade over to next to nothing. And just have it all year round. I haven't put it away yet, and we got this like beautiful little cat ornament on the bottom of it. I got some beautiful photos of my cat this year, this past Christmas, I should say, at that tree right in front of it. He looked gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous, very gorgeous, beautiful creature. And it's been a hell of a season, but what the hell, you know? We all have our moments. And it's been interesting, unexpected. God works in mysterious ways. Not always friendly. God doesn't always give life. God often takes life away in lives. That's why many Christians pray to tell God to often go away. We're not ready yet. Please do not take. I mean, that's usually what it is. I don't, you know, that's pretty much it, really. I have yet to actually meet one and more person who welcomed God into their home to do anything other than that. God always takes one and or more. He's never friendly, he, she, God. God never gives life. Never, ever. And all times God gives life, God takes life away. God always takes life. God never gives. I mean, there's numbers. And when God doesn't do it, there's always science. Again, COVID-19, SARS, severe acute respiratory. I mean, hospital beds were empty for how long? There's hardly any hospitals full. And then they came up with that, you know, everything. It was just weird. Too many healthy people, too many pharmaceutical, too many. I mean, how old is the oldest human to live today? Living today, seriously. Born, you know, how old? And why? I'd love to live to over 100 years old in this lifetime. I really would. I'd love to live over 100 years old. Although I'd have to have a plastic surgeon, dermatologist at least, you know. Even if it was 400 bottles, something under the eyes. I'd have to watch my weight a lot oftener, eat healthier, smaller meals, portion control. Everything has to count. Dinner like I had today. I'd actually have to cut back and only have a cup of it. I just felt like it. You know, I was feeling sorry for myself, and I was like, and yeah, plastic surgeon. I'd have to exercise more. I can't take lots of vitamin C because vitamin C, my body absorbs more iron, ferritin, and that buggers up everything. Because then I don't feel well, and then that's just. And then if I don't exercise, even just, you know, if I sit for half an hour, my heart rate slows down. If I get up and walk around, it speeds up. I can sit for an hour and my heart rate is in the 50s. That's good. I can walk around and then sit down and it could go up to the 80s or higher, but then I have to watch that it doesn't crash. But pretty good. I can get it higher. I can get up into the 60s and 70s sometimes. Many people with my condition are like, how do you cope? You have your mother, you have your cat, you have your gardening. How do you cope? And I'm like, I just do. I just woke one morning and found out, oh, I don't want it. I could go away and wait a while I'm not ready. I'm not going anywhere with you. I've been to churches, church services, Sundays, and all other times. Be it Anglican, Presbyterian, Roman Catholic. Been many. One place I would really, really like to go is Salem, Massachusetts. I've visited via social media, the internet, Wi-Fi's, history books, brochures, all that stuff. But I'd really like to go there. I wonder if they would burn me at the stake. They don't crucify witches there. They just welcome everybody. Even at Halloween, they're like, dress as a witch. I wonder if anybody would recognize me nowadays. Have I changed over the years? Do I look much the same? I like to have my following, you know. Does my cat love me? That's the question tonight. Most everybody celebrates paganism, pagan, and Christianity. Now this is an interest. Do you know the religion Jehovah Witness? Now when COVID-19 severe acute respiratory syndrome first began, historically, Jehovah Witnesses refused medical treatment, modern science. How many other people that religion died? COVID-19 SARS. That and Mormons. Seriously. Most everybody that got documented died were Christians. They didn't even mention pagans, really. They didn't mention anything about witches. They just mentioned blah, 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 blah. You have to do this. You have to get inoculated. You have to get vaccinated. When you have COVID, you have to take these pills that will make it go away, although it can damage your kidneys. We haven't done enough research as of yet. We don't know the final outcome. We don't know if it can cause brain damage. We don't know if it could cause, other than kidney damage, there's always the risk of blood clots sometimes. We haven't fully tested it. Blah, 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 blah. Some said their vaccinations, inoculations were like water. There wasn't much, if anything, in there. It was just water. It was like vinegar and water. It didn't do anything. I mean, if I've got COVID now, I don't really affect. It doesn't. It just feels like a cold, a bit of lightheadedness. I didn't vomit or anything. I don't have the flu. It's just like a light cold. It comes and goes. I've had it on and off for a little while now. It just comes and goes, and I isolate myself sometimes. I don't have a social life very. I'm a lot older than I was, and I don't go out very often, and I'm very busy with my immediate family, and I'm just like, huh. It actually feels a little bit like the early onset of bronchitis. But then severe acute respiratory syndrome, that's what it is. Can turn into bronchitis, bronchopneumonia, form of pneumonia. It's really all the other symptoms. I can't figure it all out when I read it. I was like, most all the other symptoms remind me of cholera. Toilets, public, and outhouses, etc. Public. Ugh. And furniture-wise, I like stuff that I can wash and wear, so that faux, F-A-U-X, not real. Although real, if you know what I mean. And that way I could just like a wet cloth or disinfectant, just wipe everything down. I don't do it as often as I probably should, although I did. I just, this happened since yesterday. I don't know. My mom wanted to go out to get vitamins, and it's just came down. I was laying in my bed this morning. I was like, I really feel like crap. My nose is really bothering me. I got up and got tissue, and I couldn't believe what came out. But it does that occasionally. My doctor the other day, earlier, said, it looks and sounds like sinitis. It was not all sinitis. Although, happened. And again today, came out. So today was one of my foodie beauty days, which is really weird because it was mostly all, well, it was healthy enough. But I more prefer, I want to have tomorrow a bowl of, I like these because I can just throw them out. I'm going to be tidying up my kitchen this weekend. One little mini cucumber and one of those small Roma tomatoes. Cut that all up. Put some condiment on it. Maybe have my mixed nuts then. Put a couple of nuts in my Brazil nut and just have that. That might be my lunch tomorrow. It's a nice small lunch after, since fasting. I began at 8 p.m. tonight, so it could be more than 14 hours of fasting, at least 13 and a half hours. Hello. You could do it. Thank you. It's not moving at all. Should I put my finger on it? Does my cat love me? I did move it a little bit. Oh boy. It's my left one. Who knows, you know? So, what else to talk about? I mean, everything has been so repeated about COVID-19 SARS. Everything. There's not any new data on it whatsoever. I didn't find any new data on it. Uh, Oop. Huh. Like I said, COVID-19 is right up there with influenza. Right up there. Ugh. Ontario. Not as many outbreaks as they reported earlier. December 29, 2024 to January 4, 2025. COVID-19, moderate. Influenza, moderate. RSE, lower. Percent positivity in the most recent week, 13.4%. Outbreaks reported in the most recent week, 104. Hospital bed occupancy reported in the most recent week, 1,049. Deaths reported in the most recent week, 8. Episodes reported in the most recent week, 2012. Influenza, all types. Percent positivity in the most recent week, 13.1%. Outbreaks reported in the most recent week, 32. Hospital bed occupancy reported the most recent week, 415 deaths. Reported the most recent week, not available cases. Reported the most recent week, 1,971. RSV. Percent positivity in the most recent week, 9.2%. Outbreaks reported in the most recent week, 5. Hospital bed occupancy reported in the most recent week, 346 deaths. Reported in the most recent week, not available cases. Reported in the most recent week, not available. Other respiratory virus activity in the most recent week. Pronunciation, please do forgive me. Adenovirus, 0.7%. Enterorhinovirus, 4.8%. Human metapneumovirus, 0.8%. Parainfluenza, all types, 1.3%. Seasonal human coronavirus, 2.8% positivity. Interesting. Might as well just have a bit of fun here. Read those files later. I'm not lying. COVID is just a virus. It's just like a cold. Here it comes. The COVID-19 influenza and the RSV activity indicators summarize projection of virus activity for the next 2 weeks. Among Ontarians less than 65 years of age, respiratory activity indicators are the percentage of the risk of severe illness indicators summarize the overall risk of severe viral respiratory disease, i.e., requiring hospitalization related to COVID-19 influenza, RSV, in Ontario's pediatric and adult populations in the most recent assessment, as well as the projected risk of severe viral respiratory disease by the end of the next 2 weeks. COVID-19 and influenza activity increase. RSV activity decrease. Interesting. COVID and influenza A and influenza B. That looks like what my heart monitor was during July 27, 2024 in hospital. It's the flu. It's just another strain of it. The more I read about it, the more I see flu, 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 flu. Pneumonia. Susceptible this, susceptible that. It's as though COVID 19 uh, finds the flu virus and bang, gives the patient the flu. Oh, I wish I could say more. Oh, I wish I could say more. That's very interesting. Still think it's bullshit. Find my favorite page. Post COVID 19 condition in Canada, what we know, what we don't know, and a framework for action. When was this put out there? Oh, I can't find the date. When this author put it out. Anyways, got it now. The COVID pandemic has had devastating effects on our society and on human health and mortality. Over the past 2 years, evidence has emerged to suggest that the impacts of COVID 19 extend beyond the acute phase of the disease, which in some infected individuals can turn into chronic illness. In Canada, as of August 2022, more than 1.4 million people, or about 50% of adults who have contracted COVID 19, say they experienced symptoms 3 months or more after their initial SARS CoV 2 virus injection. These include respiratory, cardiovascular, neurological, and cognitive impairments, and they can be debilitating. These long-term symptoms are collectively identified as post-COVID-19 condition (PCC) or long COVID (PCC). Is not a homogeneous, homogeneous, excuse me, pronunciation, homogeneous disease, as different individuals can present different sets of symptoms. Currently, there is no consensus definition of the condition or its diagnosis, and few, if any, clinical practice guidelines are available. Globally, data for different countries consistently estimate that 10 to 20% of SARS-CoV-2 infected individuals experience PCC. Prevalence estimates for PCC will be refined over time as more data becomes available and wider consensus across the globe is reached on definitions and diagnostic criteria. People suffering from the condition receive standard care for medically defined symptoms, e.g., cardiovascular complications. But for the many who suffer from other broad or medically undefined symptoms, such as chronic fatigue or brain fog, little other than rehabilitation therapy is presently offered. Several international clinical trials are ongoing to test new treatments or the benefits of existing repurposed medications. With the pandemic and the virus still spreading, PCC is likely to affect more many Canadians. Interestingly, COVID-19 vaccines significantly reduce but do not eliminate the risk of developing PCC. It's like the influenza vaccine. I said that already. The biologic basis for the complex symptoms and conditions seen in PCC remains unknown and represents a major epidemic diagnosis and care of individuals suffering from the condition. Disease mechanisms may include effects on the specific organs, systematic effects due to chronic inflammation and deregulation of the immune system, or persistence of viral proteins of RNA in host cells. No risk factors include female sex, hospitalization due to COVID, pre-existing chronic health conditions, and repeat SARS-CoV-2 infection. PCC also has a significant socioeconomic impact on individuals and communities. Among other things, PCC impacts the labor market, the workplace, and social support programs. The lack of defined diagnostic criteria and treatments, together with the modest awareness of the condition, is leading to stigma and disbelief, further affecting the mental and physical health of individuals living with PCC and their families. In the context, Canada's chief science advisor established a multidisciplinary task force in July 2022 to investigate and advise on ways to address post-COVID-19 condition in Canada. The product of their deliberations is a report that took into account existing scientific literature, published evidence, experience of service providers, and the perspectives of people with lived experience. The report also proposes an integrated framework and recommendations for the management of PCC in Canada. The recommendations include ensuring that research be interconnected with PC clinical service delivery as part of continuous learning framework, that services be developed and tailored to people and their families living with PCC, recognizing that females disproportionately suffer from PCC and that sustainable human and physical infrastructure be put in place to support PCC management, prevention, and research. These are integral to the broader effort of pandemic preparedness. The current pandemic is not the first, nor will it be the last. A legacy of learning from PCC and the current pandemic should include strengthening systems such as uh, epidemiological surveillance, research readiness, and coordination, as well as data collection and sharing, combined with measures to reduce infectious disease transmission, notably through improved indoor air quality, and efforts to recruit, train, and retain healthcare providers. These systems will serve to enhance our preparedness and response to future outbreaks and emergencies. Interesting. Very interesting. The virus was confirmed to have reached Canada on January 25, 2020, after an individual who had returned to Toronto from Wuhan, that's Wuhan, Hubei, Hubei, China, tested positive. The first case of community transmission in Canada was confirmed in British Columbia on March 5. In March 2020, as cases of community transmission were confirmed, all of Canada's provinces and territories declared states of emergency. Provinces and territories implemented, to varying degrees, school and daycare closures, prohibit, 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 prohibitions on gatherings, closures of non-essential businesses, and restrictions on entry. Canada severely restricted its border accesses, barring travelers from all countries with some exceptions. The Federal Minister of Health invoked the Quarantine Act introduced following the 2002 to 2004 SARS outbreak. For the first time in its legislation, blah 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 blah. Ah, 2004. The 2002 to 2004 outbreak of SARS, caused by severe acute respiratory syndrome coronavirus, affected over 8,000 people from third. That's interesting. Location worldwide, mostly a map of SARS cases and deaths around the world regarding the global population. First outbreak was in Shunde, Shunde, Guangdong, Guangdong, China. The first outbreak was identified in Foshan, Guangdong, China. Excuse my mispronouncing, I suppose. In November 2002, the World Health was notified of the outbreak in February 2003 and issued a global alert in 2003. Initially, the cause of the outbreak was unknown, and some media outlets reported that an influenza virus was a potential culprit. The major part of the outbreak lasted about 8 months. The World Health Organization, SARS is contained. China, the strain caused COVID-19, which spread to other areas of Asia and then worldwide. Probable cases of SARS by country and territory, November 2002 to July 31, 2003. Here's Canada. cases 251, deaths 400. Canada 4, 251 cases, deaths 43, fatality 17.1%. The United States 27 cases, 0 deaths, 0 fatality. Am I seeing that all right? Correctly? It's not a laughing matter, but it is kind of funny when I'm reading once more. Ordering Hong Kong. The first case of infection was traced to Foshan, Foshan. The first outbreak affected people in the food industry, such as farmers market vendors and chefs. The outbreak spread to healthcare workers after people sought medical treatment for the disease. The People's Republic of China notified the World Health Organization about the outbreak on February 11, 2003, reporting 305 cases, including 105 healthcare workers and 5 deaths. They reported that the outbreak. Canada. On February 23rd, an elderly woman named Kwan Sui-chu, KWAN-SUI-CHU, had also been a Metropole Hotel guest, returned to Toronto, Canada from Hong Kong. She died at home on March 5 after infecting her son, who subsequently spread the disease to Scarborough Grace Hospital and died on. Oh wow. But that doesn't mean anything to me really, because you can die of pneumonia and bronchopneumonia. It's means to me that there is something, but it's just the same to me as what I've just read. It's just maybe newer symptoms. May 2005, Jim Yardley of the New York Times wrote, not a single case of the severe acute respiratory syndrome has been reported this year, 2005, or in late 2004. It is the first winter without a case since the initial outbreak in late 2002. In addition, the epidemic strain of SARS that caused at least 774 deaths worldwide by June 2003 has not been outside of a laboratory since then. Well, you know. norovirus cases are rising in Canada. Here's advice from a doctor. Canadian health officials are reporting a rising number of cases of the highly contagious norovirus illness in Canada, warning that the elderly and young are most at risk. Infectious diseases specialist says he's currently seeing more cases of the winter vomiting disease. This is probably post-pandemic patterns that are just normalizing and we're seeing across Canada and even the United States. But this is time we expect it. Norovirus, also known as the stomach flu or stomach bug, is a common gastrointestinal illness that occurs more often during the winter and early spring when people spend more time inside together, according to norovirus. Symptoms include vomiting, diarrhea, stomach pains, and nausea. Disease normally spreads when people come into close contact. As I said, there's always something. Cases in Canada, preliminary data indicate that a higher number of norovirus cases are being reported in recent weeks as compared to 5-year historical average. However, caution the comparison should take into account factors linked to COVID-19 pandemic, which resulted in significantly reduced reporting of enteric pathogens like norovirus and lower the 5-year. As a result, recent trends may appear higher than expected. Experts say there's no treatment for norovirus, but those experiencing serious fluid loss are advised to seek medical care. People should take small amounts of liquids such as electrolyte-based solutions like Gatorade and Pedialyte during the vomiting phase, which lasts about 24 hours. As long as people are generally healthy, as long as they get through the vomiting phase and as the vomiting settles down, they can start getting the hydration again. Most people are able to tolerate the disease. Health experts say norovirus can spread through direct contact with contaminated food, water, and surfaces. Hand sanitizer is effective in preventing the virus, unlike soap and water. Somebody took the page down already. Oh, there it is. 1918 flu, influenza, disease, influenza, 17 to 100 million death toll worldwide. Smallpox or measles. Yeah, it's here's a good one. Not a good one, it's an awful one, but case study number 12, or notation. Documented Hong Kong flu. It's actually a Hong Kong flu. Hong Kong flu, influenza, 1918 to 1922. Nope, wrong year. 1968 to 1969. Influenza, Hong Kong flu. Last but not least, 1846 to 1816, cholera pandemic. Cholera. Cholera is an infection of the small intestine by some strains of the bacterium Vibrio cholerae. Symptoms range from none to mild to severe. The classic symptom is large amounts of watery diarrhea lasting a few days. Vomiting, muscle cramps may also occur. Diarrhea can be so severe it leads to severe dehydration and electrolyte imbalance. This may result in sunken eyes, cold skin, decreased skin elasticity, and wrinkling of the hands and feet. Dehydration can cause the skin to turn bluish. Symptoms start 2 hours to 4 days after exposure. Prevention, improved sanitation, clean water, hand washing, cholera vaccines. Ah. The old malaria, tuberculosis, historical, hepatitis B, hepatitis C. It's another flu, cold. It's another virus. Life goes on, right? I could go on about, let me just go down. 1350 BC plague of Megiddo. Hittite plague and underground plague of Athens. 412 BC epidemic. Antonine plague. Gian plague. Okay, I'll read it better this way. Uh, Typhoid, influenza, 412 BC epidemic, smallpox, typhoid fever or viral or hat fever, smallpox, bubonic plague, uh, dysentery or possibly smallpox, bubonic plague, bubonic plague, bubonic plague, bubonic plague, smallpox, bubonic. I'm sure it's going to be found one day that it existed historically, because everything seems to go around and come back again, like cholera, bubonic plague. There's so many. It's not ever gone away. It's just diphtheria, bubonic. There's lots of bubonic, measles. Personally, I think the media just made a big deal about something that was serious. It's serious. It's just added to a list of other serious. Measles, whooping cough, dysentery, and influenza. Probably already looked at it. Severe acute respiratory syndrome. Worldwide. But that bothers me when they showed up. Severe acute respiratory syndrome. That's misleading because that already pre-existed. There's always been. I've just read a whole lot about severe acute respiratory syndrome. Go back to the 1800s and earlier. Flu, influenza, 2009 to 2010 worldwide. Cholera. Something that was supposed to have not been. It was supposed to be less, not more, returned, and was never eliminated. None of them have been ever eliminated. As far as I can see, there's always a chance of it all coming back. Hospitals, ERs, emergency rooms, doctors, nurses elsewhere weren't ready for it and or ignored it. Outbreak 10 of the most worst pandemics in history. Are we? Scientists and medical researchers have for years have differed over the exact definition of a pandemic. Is a pandemic or is it epidemic? But one thing everyone agrees on is that the word describes the widespread occurrence of disease in excess of what might normally be expected in a geographical region. Cholera, bubonic plague, smallpox, and influenza are some of the most brutal killers in human history, and outbreaks of these diseases across international borders are properly defined as pandemic, especially smallpox, which throughout history has killed between 300 and 500 million people in its 1200,000 year existence. 12000. Beginning in December 2019 in the region of appearing in human beings, it has been named COVID-19, a short form of coronavirus disease of 2019. This new virus spreads incredibly quickly between people due to its newness. No one on Earth has an immunity to COVID-19 because no one has no because no one had excuse me because no one had COVID-19 until 2019. While it was initially seen to be an epidemic in China, the virus spread worldwide within months. The WHO declared COVID-19 a pandemic in March, and by the end of that month, the world saw more than 500,000 people infected and nearly 30,000 deaths. The infection rate in the US and other nations was still spiking. With the coronavirus pandemic, people all over the world have become more aware of the best practices during a pandemic. From careful hand washing to social distancing, countries across the world declared mandatory stay-at-home measures, closed schools, businesses, and public places. Dozens of companies and many more independent researchers began working on tests, treatments, and vaccines. The push for human race to survive the pandemic became the primary concern in the world. The outcome of the COVID-19 pandemic is impossible to predict at the time of this writing, but we can learn from pandemics in history to determine our best courses. These are our teachers, the Spanish flu, the AIDS pandemic, and more. HIV/AIDS pandemic at its peak 2005 to 2012. Death toll cause HIV/AIDS first identified in Democratic Republic of Congo in 1976. HIV/AIDS has truly proven itself as a global pandemic, killed more than since 1981. Currently, there are between 31 and 35 million people living with HIV. The vast majority of those are in sub-Saharan Africa, where 5% of the population is infected, roughly 21 million people. As awareness has grown, new treatments have developed that make HIV far more manageable, and many of those infected go on to lead productive lives. Between 2005 and 2012, the annual global deaths from HIV dropped from flu pandemic 1968. Cause influenza. Category 2 flu pandemic, sometimes referred to as the Hong Kong flu. This 1968 flu pandemic was caused by the H3N2 strain of the influenza A virus, a genetic offshoot of the H2N2 subtype. From the first reported case on July 13, 1968 in Hong Kong, it took only 17 days before outbreaks of the virus were reported in Singapore and Vietnam, and within 3 months had spread to the Philippines, India, Australia, Europe, and the United States. While the 1968 pandemic had a comparatively low mortality rate, 5%, 0.5%, it still resulted in the deaths of more than, including residents of Hong Kong. Asian flu, 1956 to 1958. Cause influenza. Asian flu was a pandemic outbreak of influenza of the H2N2 subtype that originated in China in 1956 and lasted until 1958. In its 2 year spree, Asian flu traveled from the Chinese province of somewhere in Hong Kong. Ah, so many. I'll attach the link to a live stream. Read all yourselves, I suppose. I blame a lot of the travel, whether I blame planes, trains, automobiles, boats, ships. I suppose if any of you know, I'm a bit of a traveler myself, at least I used to be. I didn't go far, although I did travel. Different from a bacterial infection, a virus is a genetic material that can only replicate within a host. Many people are wondering what is the definition of a virus as they work to stay safe throughout the coronavirus outbreak. The answer is what is the definition of a virus is simple. It's an effective agent that's surrounded by a protein that contains genetic material. Viruses are often tough to kill once they inhabit a living person. A virus needs a living thing to survive for a long period of time. While viruses are considered living organisms, when you search for what is a virus, you'll find that viruses struggle to survive for more than a few days on their own. Viruses are tiny and cannot be seen without the use of specialized medical treatment. The coronavirus is 1,000th of the width of an eyelash, making it difficult to see even with a powerful microscope. This is the case for most viruses that can harm the human body. If you're wondering what a virus is made of, what is a basic characteristic of a virus, the answers are surprisingly simple. Viruses are tiny packets of genetic material that replicate within a host. They're able to get into cells and wreak havoc on living things. Viruses are notoriously difficult to kill. Many of us have been, many of us have had frustrating evidence of going to the doctor when we're sick, expected to get antibiotics to make us feel better. That is, make us feel better. It can feel disheartening when the doctor says that it's viral. You may be left wondering what is a viral infection. Viruses are tough to kill and don't respond to antibiotics, which work to kill bacteria. Since the coronavirus is viral, it's especially tough for doctors to find a cure. If you're wondering what is a viral infection, you may be curious about how to tell whether you've acquired symptoms caused by a virus. When the body acquires a virus, when the body acquires a virus, a few things can happen. If the immune system is stronger than the virus, the body may be able to kill the virus, leaving the person who had the virus none the wiser. If the immune system doesn't kill the virus but is able to keep it at bay, stopping the person from feeling the symptoms associated with viral infection, they may carry and transmit the virus while not realizing that they have the virus in the body. If the immune system is strong enough to kill the virus, the person may acquire a viral infection since the virus, but not. Feeling some symptoms and not sure whether they're related to a cold, the flu, or the coronavirus. You're not alone. Many people are searching what is caused by a virus and attempted to self-diagnose before seeking professional health care. Coronavirus creates many different symptoms, and the symptoms may differ from person to person. In people who have strong immune systems, the virus might create a dry cough, a high fever, fatigue, a sore throat, gastrointestinal symptoms, and shortness of breath. For people who have weakened immune systems or whose bodies are struggling to overcome the virus, their symptoms may become more serious. In people who have weakened immune system, it's essential that they get treatment at a hospital if they acquire the coronavirus. There is currently no cure for coronavirus. When a person has a weakened immune system and seeks medical treatment, it is to help their bodies deal with effects of the virus, not to find a cure. People who have weakened immune systems often have more trouble breathing when they're affected by coronavirus than someone who has a healthy immune system. This can mean that they may require intensive care in order to continue breathing as our body fights off the virus. This requires trained medical professional equipment that allow them to stay strong and their body works hard to get better. Virus. Yet not one of the worst viruses, yet the media and everybody panicked. Pandemic, yet not the worst. History, geography, yet not the worst. And not the most contagious and not the most infectious. If you're searching for how to prevent a virus to keep you and the people you care about safe, you're doing the right thing. It's much easier to work toward preventing viruses than it is to fight them off once they've been acquired. As you search for how to prevent viruses, you find that most of the tips for keeping yourself safe are simple. Your best line of defense is simply to wash your hands often with soap and water. Wash for 20 to 30 seconds. Singing a happy birthday twice is a great way to ensure that you're washing your hands long enough. When you don't have access to sink and warm water, using hand sanitizer is better than nothing. Use an alcohol-based sanitizer and rub it into your hands until they are fully dry. Don't use hand sanitizers to replace regular hand washing. It's not nearly as good at killing the coronavirus as soap and water. Avoid touching your eyes, nose, and mouth. When the virus gets on your hands, it doesn't immediately enter your body. For most people, it enters through the eyes, nose, or mouth. Avoiding touching those parts of your body, especially when you're in public, can go a long way toward preventing viruses. Stay home as much as possible, even if you're not in an area with a shelter in place order. One of the best answers to how to avoid viruses is simply to stay put. When you stay home, you're not giving viruses the chance to enter the body. Get plenty of fresh air and sunlight into your home. When it's warm enough, open the windows. Sunlight and fresh air can help to reduce the amount of the virus that stays in your home. When you're searching for how to avoid viruses, it can be tempting to go over the top and trying to sanitize everything in your home. Know that no matter how well you clean, you'll never be able to have your house become the germ-free mecca of your dreams. Instead, practice common sense. Stay home when you can. Seek medical attention. Call first if you get sick. And be sure to wash your hands as much as possible. In addition to using safe medically sound practices to keep the virus out of your body and out of your home, there are also things that you can do to answer the question of how to avoid getting a virus. Keeping your body as healthy as possible. That's what I said earlier. Keeping your body as healthy as possible is one of the best ways to answer the question of how to avoid a virus. Exercise. Healthy food including plenty of fruits and vegetables. Avoiding sugar and drinking plenty of water can all go a long way in how to avoid catching a virus. If you don't typically have healthy habits in place, this is a great time for you and your family to begin a healthier way of living. When your body is strong, your immune system can do a better job of fighting off contaminants, including viruses and bacteria. Of course, there's no amount of healthy living that can ensure that you never get sick. If you do get sick, continue with healthy activities as much as possible at the advice of your medical professional. There's no reason to exercise if you're ill. Your body needs to rest to recover. Continuing with healthy foods and plenty of water can help your body get the nutrients and hydration it needs to get well. You've read it on social media, and perhaps you've even said it yourself. It can be tough to understand what is the coronavirus in humans and how it's different from other illnesses such as the flu, COVID 19. The disease caused by coronavirus is responsible for the symptoms. People are curious about when they search for what are the symptoms of coronavirus. You already know the answer to what causes coronavirus. Now let's take a look at it. This is she got catchers. What is coronavirus in humans is understanding the incubation period. The incubation period of coronavirus is long, up to 14 days. This means that coronavirus signs and symptoms may not show up for 2 weeks after a person has been exposed. During the incubation period, there are no coronavirus signs and symptoms. This means that the person would be able to pass the virus along to others even though they're shown no symptoms of coronavirus. This can cause coronavirus in infants and young children as well, even if the infants and children are never around someone who is showing symptoms. Luckily, most of I've been talking too long. My voice is changing. I do, although, believe everybody overreacted and didn't do research, didn't study history. Not that I'm perfect. I just find that I just think a lot of it's bullshit. In the media and social media and everything. It was. And then other people have to make a living, right? That's how their careers, hobbies, and interests are. And me, I'm just like, well, well-being and fitness. You could do your indoor walking. You do 20 seconds of walking around home now and then. If you have stairs, you climb the stairs. You obviously got to do that at least once every day. So make a habit of maybe doing it twice or more. You always hold on to the railing so you don't fall. Can make your home a gym. Buy equipment and use it at home. It doesn't have to look like a gym. Yet you can look like you can feel and look like you've been to the gym. Walking. Couldn't walk outside very often. Do some kind of walk fit indoors. I've done it on and off my whole life. Unfortunately, my mom, who uses a walker, is very cute. She didn't understand, and she wanted to go out, and I used to have to go find her because she didn't understand that most all places were closed during the pandemic, such as coffee places. And she wanted to go out for a coffee and do her little walkabouts and pick up her vitamins and stuff. And I'd go get her, and places were closed. She'd be sitting outside. She didn't have a clue what to do. She'd even phoned me. Not everything was open the way she thought it was and believed it was going to be. So I had to go get her and bring her home. And I was like, Mom, online ordering, that's the way you have to get it. You can't keep going out is the thing that's going on, you know? I didn't want her to get it, and I was like, you have to get this, we have to get that, you have to do this, you have to take this, you have to at least, I hope her doctor goes along with it all the more, at least take a multiple vitamin, pharmaceutical. I mean, you don't want to get worse than a supplement, really. You don't want to have to give the pharmaceutical industry more. Yeah, my mom. I'm like, I only take when if I feel like this tomorrow, and I sound like this at my doctor's appointment tomorrow or next week, whenever I go next month, I'll be like, do I need a nasal spray? If it's a virus, what can I do? Is there an antibiotic? Is it my sinuses bothering me again? Is it an allergy? Because my heart is pretty much regulated now. Is there any way I can get freaking antihistamine now? Pharmaceutical companies, they must love me when I hear the word antihistamine. Antihistamine, I need one so desperately. I have so many allergies at home. Some people are like, they used to yell at me, cover your face. Not wearing a mask or a face cover. And I was like, what the hell? It's a personal choice, even if it's mandatory. I'm not doing it. I can't breathe as it is sometimes because I've been ill. I have this thing. I just walked more than a whole 1.6K to get here. Why should I wear something over my face that's going to make me sick? I'm not infectious, and even if I am, who cares? I'll just go home and get rid of it. I just read all about it. My body was what? The host of a virus? Well, I'll just go home like any other virus and rest, whether I have it or not. If you're so afraid of it, it's like germophobia just became this world renowned thing. If you're going to get it, you're going to get it. It doesn't matter what you do to prevent it from getting worse. And maintaining, as what I read, it doesn't stay in, it just dies off eventually. Does its stuff and then goes away. It's just a virus, a cold kind of influenza thing. It's not even as severe as some of the other stuff I read about. It's just everybody became so, oh, is this today, it's that today. When they found a case of it or whatever, they're like, oh no. And some media personality must have leaked it out and everybody panicked. Because my mom was in hospital during, I think it was Crater Valley Hospital. And I went to visit my mom. It's awfully quiet in there. Yet I didn't, and you know me, I'm a bit nosy, right? And I'm not a stalker, although I get a bit nosy. And when people find out I'm a bit of a vlogger, they sort of let me in just a little bit, just to maybe shut me up. Because the more I know, the less I say and show and tell, because, as a courtesy, because it's just, I didn't see any of half of what was in the media. I saw nothing. Nothing. The ICU, the CCU were not as busy as reported. The other hospital too, there was not as much activity, COVID-19, SARS. There wasn't that many. There wasn't that many deaths. There was nothing. It was just quiet. And the alleged morgue, where the, nothing. I walked in, and you know I'm a bit of a thing, right? I'm a witch. So I walked in and I couldn't. I sensed death. I did sense the word death. But then I do that in most all hospitals. I just walk in and after a few minutes I just feel that it's gloomy death because somebody's died. And 9 times out of 10 I could be walking along and oh, hello ghost. And I just sit down and people used to blame me for it. And I'm like, it's not me moving anything around. It was just, and I was just like, and I was just like, very quiet. So I went in to visit with my mom. I tried to get discharged as soon as possible and come home. And it was just very quiet. Very, very quiet. I even find that sometimes in the mall nowadays. It's this eerie kind of very, very quiet. Quiet. I've trusted lots of people over the years, and my belief is a home. It's not a party room. And I do like to have my socials, although I did miss having my social restaurants, coffee place, cafes. When I used to do book clubs, read books, I'm not up one to read books at home. I used to like to go out and have a coffee and just sit there and turn pages and read my books. I remember there was a time, yeah, when we lived on Bow Beaches Boulevard. Oh, that was a street and a half. Condominium itself, the apartment was really, really cozy. It was beautiful. The layout of it, the atmosphere, everything. It was really local. The only problem was, not that I'm being discriminatory, prejudging, prejudicing, racist, bigotry. There was nursing homes right across the street. Nursing homes. Two that I knew of. I don't know that they're still there today. I didn't like that. There was that and some other reasons we moved. But that was, I, and the police were there more than twice, lots. The elderly, you know. And that's something I don't want to happen to my family. Because history, geography, genealogy, races, creeds, religions, etc., family status. So, like I said, I've trusted lots of people to help, and I'm one of those people, you know, even though I'm a public person, I like to spend lots of time alone nowadays. I haven't yet figured out why. I think sometimes it's just a fear, a paranoia, social media, virtual websites, all that stuff, very public, and then going out public, and then having been at 3 centers and 2 malls, very public. I'm just afraid of other people a whole lot more oftener than I used to be. I just like to spend some alone time with my immediate family. Like 2 days, that's it. You know, I just want to 2 days. I just want to stay home. I want to go to bed and I want to get up the next day and do nothing except be at home. I don't want to go outside and walk. I don't want to do any of that. I just want to stay home. And I do like to have my window covers open a bit, like I read. I knew daylight, natural light comes in. I have been a migraine sufferer. And even today, I had to lay down. I elevated my legs a couple of hours. My cat lay on my left leg a little bit. The old bugger like that he is. Such a sweetie, such a good cat. Oh well, didn't move much. Let's lay the Ouija board away. I didn't notice it moved very lots. Oh well. I know the answer anyways. Oh, I know the answer. Could have been worse. I could have got a bigger one. I can make one myself, you know, it's easy to do. I just lazy pig. Could use that as a Halloween decoration this year. Oh, But it's true. I find so many healthcare workers these days, and historically, as the last uh, 30 years, instead of wanting everyone, and I mean everyone, to be healthy, avoid getting a viruses, coughs, colds, flus, getting sick. That's all they seem to do is encourage that, you know. And some didn't want to write doctor's notes so that you could give to an employer or an instructor of some kind. Okay, this is the reason why I'm absent, especially during the alleged COVID-19 SARS coronavirus. This is why the patient's absent. They should. I didn't like it that some doctors were like, it's an invasion of privacy. We can't show and tell that the patient has that virus, COVID. I was like, why? If I've got a migraine, write it down. If I've got the flu, write it down. If I've got an allergy, write it down. Write down whatever it is that's got me sick and I can't attend. Oh, my wrist is sore, my ankle hurts. Write it all down. And any of those doctors were like, well, not like, really, I don't want to be in the media with you. And that's before and during and since. And I'm like, well, you're the one with the problem, not me. Most everybody's keen on being with me because, well, I show and tell the truth. I would have loved to have known that I've ever had that. I would have framed the doctor's note and said, oh, well, it's not only the vaccine, but now I've got the illness too. Here you go. Let's wrap that up and set that on fire, stick it up your ass. Oh, wait, that's cholera. That's not COVID-19 SARS coronavirus. I remember when it all began, they were comparing it to cholera and other illnesses, diseases, stuff. Remember when they didn't do graves and they just piled up all the infected and or dead bodies and set them on fire? That was their graves, and family members and relatives, whoever had to go in there and try to find their relative, try to find. They didn't do graves until later. And they wanted to do that again, more during that COVID-19 SARS coronavirus. Didn't make sense to me. Seriously, when I've read how it was infectious, contagious, doing an autopsy wouldn't give the um, mortician or whatever COVID-19 SARS coronavirus. I wonder if I'm going to get any copycats on social media. Picked up. I hope I'm mentioned by any of the other ones, reaction channels or whatever. Please mention me. Please give me the acknowledgement I so rightly and correctly and or not deserve. My name is Avril, Avril, updated, Avril Bellis at Bellis Wellbeing and Fitness. To me, COVID-19 is nothing. It's just another virus. It's a flu. It's a cold. You do everything you're supposed to or whatever. I don't believe in face coverings. I mean, I'll probably wear a scarf eventually. I have a scarf somewhere, but then I'm not really outside often enough to wear a scarf. I was out one day, but I didn't need a scarf. It was snowing. And that's something else I believe too. The alleged climate changes. Y'all know who you are. Also known as bullshit. Ecuador, the sun, the moon, this, that, the distance between this, that, and everything else, the axle, the movement, all bullshit. Recent snowfall, they were like, oh, up to 7 centimeters. Well, even when I was out there, it had already snowed 7 centimeters. How many centimeters like with that? So that's like it was that had already happened. What happened to the feet of snow we used to get? The 1960s, 70s, and 80s, and the 90s. Oh my God, the 1990s. Oh my God, that was a lot of snow. Lots and lots of snow. Where did all that snow go? Fucking India, maybe. I don't know. Okay, I gotta go. I gotta get my check on my mom, and I gotta feed my cat more cat food, medicate my cat, and give him his Vaseline bum rub. I mean, veterinarians agreed upon. Helps him feel comfortable. I like to do it before he goes to bed because it seems to relax him and make him happier more. Um, yeah, I gotta go do that, and I'm gonna have my coffee. And not any of us are wearing a face covering, not a shield, not a scarf, not a mask. Not a mask. Although I am going to be washing my hands. That's a given. At least once before I go to bed. Touching pharmaceutical. I will. I'll be touching cat food, pharmaceutical. And until at least Sunday or next Wednesday or Thursday, I'll be doing this more. Looking for life's energy. I found life's energy. Rest. Avoid public places oftener. Strengthen my immune system. Avoid the virus. This is viruses. Avoid stalkers. Avoid. I live messy. Anybody and everybody knows I'm messy. I live as if it's an office, a desk. It's really, really weird. I've done it lots lately. And one thing I don't like to do before I leave, I don't like bringing condiments home from public places. That creeps me out. Especially because it's in public places and I don't know who touched it before I did. I sometimes even bring condiments from home public. No offense intended. It makes me feel better. Mentally, physically, and emotionally. Such as sugar-free syrup condiment. When I used to have sugar. Just creeps me out. I often keep a sanitizer with me because I like to often clean my hands. Same with public bathrooms, creep me out lately. You never know who sat in the toilet before. You never knew. I never knew who sat, well, I don't, nobody knows who sat on toilet necessarily before I did. Washed my hands, tap, soap before I did. English literature. I've studied with you. You witnessed me. I read it lots, and I did not misunderstand any of it. Virus, viral, influenza, pneumonia, broken pneumonia. It's just that. Anything could give that. Goes into how you can get it, and then it goes to the lungs. Got it. Jeez. Holy. Big. It's 20. It was the 2000s. Some parts of the world, it's unbelievable that we're even at this. What, 2025 now? It's 2025. And because of all that hoopla, media, healthcare, I look pretty good for my age. I very rarely wear moisturizers because of all that alleged stuff. And I look pretty good. I like to drink cold water boiled hot. I was doing it at nighttime, but I find it's more beneficial. Mornings, well, whenever as a first beverage. I do occasionally moisturize. Occasionally. I'm into Nivea right now. Nivea and I sure say. That's the two brands I'm using right now. And biotin and skin stress ease. That is biotin, hair, nails, and skin, and stress ease, which is all vitamin B stuff. Yeah. next next month, or sooner, I'm gonna probably putting some collagen into myself. With that, with a bit more exercise, yeah. I'm not as beautiful as I was when I was younger, not even as cute, as far as I'm concerned. Although I'm better looking than most other ones that went through it all. Use the comment area. Let me know, do you agree with me? And or disagree with me about COVID-19, SARS, severe acute respiratory syndrome, coronavirus? Let me read all about it. And are you a subscriber that does vlogging, social media too? Maybe I'll see you sometime. Maybe I'll watch one of your videos, live streams. Sure, you'll probably have something to say about it. Most everybody and anybody we're athletic too, more and or less. I don't know this year that I'm going to have an outdoor fairy garden because during all of that for a while there we weren't allowed to do anything alleged. I got permission to do a little bit this year. I'm not really going to do if my wisteria grows in the spring. Uh, I'll keep it out there, whether it grows or doesn't grow, and then I'm just gonna have a pot marigolds in the street after I guess am I allowed to? Because that must be good for the air. I mean, it can't be healthy to have a neighborhood without anything. Don't need a lot because I live across from a creek and a river, so got all that natural. And I got both a little bit of country and a whole lot of rock and roll. Do you remember that song by Donnie and Marie Osmond? I'm a little bit country. I'm a rock and roll. And what was the other song? The Morning Side of the Mountain. It would be so nice to wake up, go to bed one night, it's snowing. Maybe a blizzard, maybe not a blizzard, I don't know. Snowing like it used to, like I said, in the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s. That'd be nice to wake. I don't shovel snow anymore. I don't shovel snow outside anymore. I don't have a driveway or do that. But wouldn't it be nice to wake up one day and have that much snow? It happened once, but it never really happened again. It would be so nice to have this year to have about that much snow. That's not too much, especially on the weekend. You know, come home from whatever doing. It's been a long week Friday. Get dinner ready, whatever, resting, and then just look out the window and it's snowing. And then wake up the next morning. By lunchtime, Saturday, there's about that much snow. That'd be good. Nowadays, you don't have to go out. You can just shop online. Need groceries, milk and bread, and or eggs. Or online. You don't have to go out. We don't have to go to like Walmart or Food Basics or wherever else. Dollarama. I don't know. Uh, what other ones are around nowadays? Oh, Longos. Costco's. Just, and if you can't do it yourself, you probably have a relative or somebody that can do it for you. If, you know. Yeah. And what's weird about Canada, winter starts in like December and ends in March. Yet it's 2024, so it was the year before. Yet winter continues, and then it takes a break. It goes on hiatus, spring, summer, autumn, and then it returns. Winter this year, but you have to past year English. Okay, I'm gonna go now. Thank you for watching. Have a nice day. Be kind to all, everyone, everywhere. Good night. Goodbye.